Okay, great. Good evening and welcome to our March 17th school committee meeting. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Brad, if you can lead us. Brad is the birthday boy. He can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which where's the flag?
Right there. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it's
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. As I noted right before, today is not only St. Patrick's Day, but it is also Brad's birthday. So a big happy birthday to Brad. And I believe Jen also had a birthday a couple of days ago. So we'll wish her a happy birthday.
Thank you.
We have a consent agenda from March 3rd, 2022, and oath to bills and payroll.
I'll make a motion to accept. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback on my end, but I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from March 3rd, 2022, as well as the oath to bills and payroll.
I'll second the motion.
Made and seconded. This is a roll call vote. Brad,
Austin, yes.
Jen,
Jen Gold, yes.
Justin,
Justin McCarthy, yes.
Matt Hunt votes yes as well. This brings us to our recognition. I know Brad, one of our school board members.
Yeah, Matt, I'm not always confident that I speak for the entire committee. Usually we do a really good job of speaking for ourselves. But I'm pretty sure I do now. And I just want to say thank you to Timlin. As we know, Timlin has resigned her position on the school committee. Her family obligations are foremost in her priorities right now, as they should be. But I thought it was appropriate just to say thanks. I didn't really know Timlin before, didn't know her well, certainly before we served in this committee together, got elected 2 years ago. We spent a lot of time together in public sessions and executive sessions on policy committees. And I just come to really respect her and want to thank her for her diligence and thoughtfulness. It was always clear that Timlin listened to arguments, thought about decisions we had to make, and brought the community's voice with her to these meetings. And it's been a tough 2 years, and she served with distinction. I just want to say thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks, Timlin.
Agreed.
Well said, Brad. Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the main purpose of this meeting, which is our FY23 budget public hearing. We have our FY 2023 budget presentation, which Justin is going to present for us tonight.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We're ready to get going here. So thank you, everybody. This first slide here just lists the administrative team and the school committee as well. So it's a joint effort. Appreciate everyone's work that's helped in putting this budget presentation together. Of course, Superintendent Clenchey, Business Manager Steve Mark, and fellow subcommittee, budget subcommittee member Jen Gold, as well as the rest of the team members that are on the first slide here. So thanks very much. Can move on to the next slide, please. I think it's imperative here that we start with our mission statement. It's nothing worse than reading from a slide, but I think it's important to read this one. Our mission is to foster a community of learners who strive for excellence and prepare each student to be a successful, contributing citizen in a global society. So it was with this in mind that we put the budget together every year. And on the next slide, we will highlight the values in which we try to bring forth throughout the curriculum, which is respect, responsibility, integrity, and accountability. And moving right along here at rapid speed, we've got the budget process timeline. So this is just a reminder that this is a process that started back in October. World was a little bit of a different place back then, if we can all remember. We hope it stays, where we are today. But back in October, we had met, we had identified some budget priorities. We had started to put some numbers together. We had an opportunity to chat with the select board and the FinCom committee informally about where we thought our budget was going to develop this year. And then we had an opportunity to go back to them in a formal setting with a revised budget, which is the one that I'm here to present tonight. Here we are in March. hoping that we're going to pass the finalized budget, which would then be handed off and voted through at town meeting in May. All right, so on this slide here, what we have essentially is the net new dollars for the fiscal year 2023 budget. So I'm going to work you through the slide top to bottom. We're looking at $670,000 of salary increases. That's just to retain the current staffing level. That is inclusive of steps and lanes and a cost of living adjustment. From there, you know, that's just to sort of run the same show over again. From there, we look at $122,000 add for additional staff members related to the PACE program. Those additional staff members, it's a total of 1 additional teacher and 2 additional teacher aides at the $122,000 mark. And then $108,000 is 3 additional teaching assistants that were hired during the fiscal year 2022 season, as well as an opportunity to reward teaching assistants who are sometimes asked to do more than just fulfill an assistant role. So as I think we're all aware, it's been difficult over the course of the year to procure substitutes. From time to time, an assistant has to lead an entire classroom. And what we're looking to do there is reward that extra work with some extra pay. So there would be a stipend opportunity there, which is well-deserved. So you take the 670, you add the 122, 108, we're up to $900,000 in additional salary increases for the fiscal year 2023. There's a very small nominal ask here of $20,000 related to technology operational increases. Some of the licensure software has increased over time, which is of course to be expected. And I think there's a little bit of hardware add in there as well. The grand total on net new is $920,000. As you're going to see in the presentation on the next few slides, there's some savings recognized. So without those savings, we would be looking for $920,000. But because we're looking to recognize some of those savings in fiscal year 2023 and going forward, hopefully, the actual net new ask to the town is a 2% increase over the previous year's budget. It's $460,247 on top of previous year's budget. And this is where we stand. So the fiscal year 2022 approved town appropriation school committee budget was $22,590. There's the $460 from the previous slide. And what we're proposing this evening is a fiscal year 2023 school requested town appropriation budget of $23,050,247. All right, and this just gives you a breakdown here of where those dollars arrive from. So you can see 17,186,000 and change is salaries, with 5.8 million being expenses. The breakdown there is about 75 salaries, 25 expenses for the total of $23,050,000. You can see that the salaries are expected to be up about 5%, and that's due to steps and lanes and a cost of living adjustment. If it wasn't for this recognized savings with some reduced out-of-district tuition spend, we would be looking at 5+% increase. But because of that, again, $460,000 represents a 2% increase on top of previous year's budget. Give you a quick review here of the cost centers, which might be helpful as we dive into a slide or two from now. So if you all remember, we've taken a bit of a deeper dive on some of these cost centers. So Steve Mark's done a nice job of highlighting cost centers 1 through 4 this year already. But of course, we've got regular ed, which is our largest spend, as you'll see, followed very closely with special education. Of note, that's all expenses other than transportation costs related to special education. And then we've got student and staff support, which is guidance, nursing, technology, curriculum. Interestingly enough, there's a story in here about lunch that I'll get to. and then our other instruction, which is co-curricular and extracurricular activities. Slides 5 through 8 here are ones that we haven't had an opportunity to cover as in depth, and we plan to as we round out the year here. But these are actually some of the more straightforward ones. So system administration, that's the superintendent's office and staff. School committee costs. I think there's probably a joke in there about some lavish school committee retreats, but those haven't happened. We've got the school administration, principals, and the office staff at each building. Transportation, busing, that's regular and special ed. And then to round it out here, we've got facilities maintenance, which is custodial costs, contracted services, and the like. Okay, this is the sort of meat and potatoes slide of the presentation. We'll take a little bit of time to go through this. It's pretty busy. We have a slide that follows this one, which we're also going to cover as well, that sort of goes over the change summary. But if we can focus on this one for a little bit. So we've got the cost centers running down the left-hand column here, 1 through 8. And then we've got running left to right, fiscal year 2022 versus 2023. And we've got appropriated and revolving. Just for everyone's education here, appropriated, or that's money that we're asking for the Littleton taxpayers. So that's tax dollars coming in. That's where we plan to spend the money. Revolving expenses would be something that we would pay for with other than tax dollars. So those would be things like circuit breaker reimbursement, school choice receipts, grants, miscellaneous income, gate revenue, small stuff like that. So you can see here in the regular education line item, appropriated to appropriated, it's 8.8 versus 9.2. That's direct result of a salary increase, all the staff salary coming up. As we move down to special education, you'll notice that there's a decrease here. That's the 6.4 to the 6.2 in terms of the appropriated columns. There is obviously a salary increase built into those staff members that are assigned to that cost center. However, that's where we're recognizing the $440,000 or $460,000 out of district tuition savings. That also has a large increase or large dollars associated with revolving, and that's where those circuit breaker funds are held. So just wanted to point that out, that in fiscal year 2022, it's about 1.2 million. You'll see it rises to in excess of 1.5 for 2023. That's a good thing. It's a result of the circuit breaker calculation or formula changed in our favor. I think it probably changed in everybody's favor. So we'll receive, that's a reimbursement of special education expenses. Once you hit a certain threshold for circuit breaker, the money gets turned on and you start to get reimbursed. For example, in fiscal year 2022, we are receiving money that we spent in fiscal year 2021. So this 2023 money coming in, or what we expect, is money that we will have to spend, and it's as a result of money that we're going to spend this year.
So, ask a question quickly.
Yes, you may.
You say the formula change. Does that mean that we'll be using this new formula moving forward, and that we should expect this new level of reimbursement, or is that no?
That is the plan. You're looking to your left, so maybe Lynn's talking.
Yeah, so
transportation.
part of the increase we're getting in circuit breaker this year is a result of the policy change at the state level about reimbursement for special ed transportation costs.
Mm-hmm.
That's now included in that formula, which has never been included before. So that's a major portion of the increase that we're receiving this year.
And that will be the same moving forward?
The threshold changes typically.
The threshold changed as we move forward. But again, I will caution everybody, there is language in the law that is subject to appropriation. So if the state doesn't appropriate it, we may not get it. So it's an iffy calculation. The formula is supposed to change. We're supposed to ramp up that transportation reimbursement years. But I just want to urge, we have to be careful.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, Justin.
And it's dependent on the students that we currently have.
Right.
As well.
What they need. Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure. No problem. Moving down the line items here, Student and staff support, you can see it's 133 to 14. That's again, just salary increases, because the whole ask here for appropriated money is essentially just salary increases. If you look from the revolving funds, it's an interesting story. I think you can see that, you know, we go from 250 to 340. And believe it or not, that's a direct correlation to that expression is there's no such thing as a free lunch. So the USDA has got a free lunch program, which has been in place with COVID this entire time, which is a great benefit. Our lunch expense has gone up, and we're projecting that it's going to go up to $340,000 if we continue with this free lunch program. The good news is it's a reimbursement program. So that's just recognizing the expense. The reimbursement would go up along with it. You can see that it's not coming from the taxpayers of Littleton. It's coming out of the revolving funds, and that's why it's from the reimbursement program. Other instruction, which is again the co-curriculars, 295 to 295, so no increase there. You'll see that there's a slight decrease on the revolving funds, and some of that has to do with the fact that when these numbers were getting put together back in the fall, we didn't really know how things were going to go. So this is some correlation to, you know, what did we think attendance was going to be at games and things like that, and what would the associated expenses be? You know, so if we settled on 121, if the number's 131 or 141, we're going to be okay either way, as I'm going to show you. I was joking with Steve Mark that, you know, geez, if we run out of money, it's not like we're just going to cancel the spring seasons as the school year. We're like, everyone's going to finish their season, whatever co-curricular activity they're involved with. That's just a placeholder, 121, where we felt comfortable. But again, the appropriated money is not changing. Line items here, 5 and 6, super clean. Just salary increases from the system administration and school administration. Transportation's at $1,250,000 in both buckets. You can see there's a slight decrease there on the revolving. Kind of the same story as the co-curriculars at the beginning of the year. You know, bus ridership was down, as anyone can attest to that has waited in a Shaker Lane or Russell Street drop-off line or pickup line. So that has thankfully come back. I think there's a lot more children on the bus this year. If that expense were to go up, the revenue is going to go up along with it. So we're going to be okay there either way. Facilities and maintenance is again just a salary increase. The drop in revolving funds there again was likely just a prediction due to the fact that auditorium and gym rentals might be down. That's probably not going to be the case, but again, there'd be an offset with some revenue coming in. And then this is just an opportunity for a little Tiger's Den plug here. So you can see that the expense associated with Tiger's Den is not appropriated, so it doesn't come from the Littleton taxpayers. It's a self-sustaining program. We estimated $700,000 in spend, which would probably be about a net break even, because that's the idea there. We're forecasting $525,000 because that's simply all the people that we can find to staff Tiger's Den at this point in time. So if you know anyone that's looking for that type of work, I'm sure the Tiger's Den folks would be happy to speak with them. But we think that the best we're going to be able to do is provide a program at the $525,000 level based upon labor shortages and current staffing levels. You can see at the bottom, the total, it's $22,590 was the appropriated for fiscal year 2022. And we're at that $23,50 for fiscal year 2023. There's an increase in revolving, but there's an increase in revolving revenue, so we're okay. And on the next slide, this is where we've got the changes broken out. So in case your eyes were glazing over looking at the numbers, we can look at percentages, which might be a little bit easier. As you scan the cost centers in the appropriated, you can see that the changes go from a -3%, which we already talked about, which was that out of district reduction for special education expenses, because we're bringing some programs back in house, to a +5%, which is simply just associated with salary. That out of district tuition spend, you know, isn't something that's brand new for 2023 fiscal year. It's something that the administration's been working very hard on these past couple of years to develop some programs so we could, as opposed to sending students out of house, you know, out of district, if we could handle them in district, and do so with an economic benefit for the town, and the child receives the same level of services, it would seem like a no-brainer. So that's an opportunity and a trend that we've been able to realize at this point in time, and we're looking to adjust the budget downward from that out-of-district tuition spend. On the revolving side of the house, the numbers are much larger in terms of percentages, but they're much smaller in terms of the dollars spent. So the big one there in terms of dollars is that plus 343,000 in the special education spend. And as folks in the room are saying, that's a direct result of additional circuit breaker money coming in next year, which must be spent, which we will spend. We'll spend that money first. And that was because transportation costs were added into the formula. On the next slide. Just some points of interest here. Just wanted to review that the fiscal 2023 budget does reflect the use of ESSER funds to help mitigate COVID impacts, mental health, learning, social, emotional impacts. We still have some ESSER funds. The last spend date on some of that money would be September 30th, 2024. So we're sitting on a little bit of money there. We want to make sure we use it wisely. There's been a conscious effort to make sure we didn't use one-time money for reoccurring expenses. But some of that money is reflected in the budget. In terms of the revolving funds, we do anticipate at this point in time, thankfully, that athletics, busing, club activities are going to return to normal levels, which I think is a good sign, and we're all been looking forward to. And then, of course, we've talked about this, or I've mentioned a few times, but the significant savings here of the $450,000 in out of district tuition costs. I don't want to mislead anyone here. I mean, there are a number of students that still go out of district because that's the very best place for them. I think our out of district tuition spend for fiscal year 2022 is somewhere around the $2.8 million figure. So we're looking at 2.8 less 450,000 or so for the following year. So it's time to recognize that we've achieved certain programs within the school system, and we aren't sending as many children out. That's always subject to change, of course, but just looking to carry a figure slightly less than we have in the past. And on the next slide, we've got a nice summary here of our school choice funds. So if folks in the room recall or are aware, we've got a slightly less than just 100 school choice students currently enrolled in Littleton Public Schools. We estimate that we're going to have a school choice ending balance fiscal year 2022, 6/30/2022 of around $2.35 million. Again, we're estimating that in the fiscal year 2023, we're going to receive about $450,000 of school choice funds. That number is going to fluctuate based upon enrollment. I believe we're graduating 12 school choice seniors. I'm not sure that we're going to have 12 new spots for the following school year because of some of the new construction in town and how desirable the school system is and the like. But we are still comfortable with 450,000 because we're on pace to receive more than 450,000 this year. As we've done in years past, we peel off 250 of the 450 and apply that towards salaries, because although we had an empty seat in the classroom for that individual, there was an educational expense associated with providing instruction and curriculum and the delivery of such to that individual. So there's less 250. We approximate that fiscal year 2023, we could end the year at $2.554 million in our rainy day fund, which would represent about 11% of the fiscal year 2023 appropriated budget. I want to let everyone know that at this point in time, we feel like we have achieved goal in the rainy day fund. I think it's prudent, and school committee members or committees before us all have thought it was prudent to create a contingency plan in the event that we ran into some extraordinary expenses. So it might be rare, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that some students move into the district that could be significant spends, upwards of the tunes of $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And it might take you a couple of years to try to get that figured out before you game plan. So we've got a really nice cushion here in the school choice revolving funds accounts, in the event that we ran into some extraordinary expenses. It would not be welcomed, I think, to start a budgetary process in October, and then have to go back to the town for additional money. So we're at a situation here where we have some sufficient means to sort of stand on our own and, take care of any small bumps or hiccups that might come along the way. A 10% threshold is thought to be, pretty financially conservative. And there's no incentive here to, grow this to 12, 15, 20% of budget. That would be in excess of where we would need to be. So I want to thank all of the school committee members and committee members that came before us to get us to this point. The financial house is pretty well sturdy here. And going forward, we should look to make sure that we sort of reinvest some of the school choice money back into the current fiscal years. And on the next slide, we've just going to highlight here some budgetary concerns moving forward. I just kind of ended with, things are great, but it's not all cupcakes and roses. If you turn on the news, I'm sure everyone's aware, inflation's up. We're all feeling it at the pump. That could obviously have an impact on our future operational costs associated with utilities, potential ask for salary increases, busing contracts, maintenance contracts, and the like. The town appropriation support, I think the citizens of Littleton value a high quality public education. I think we're all fortunate to be Littleton residents. There's a risk there that, that attitude could change. I don't think it's going to. I don't think, I hope that it never does. But certainly a risk that we wanted to highlight. But I believe that as it stands right now, we have terrific footings on an excellent school system. And I think everyone in town realizes how important that is, just from a community standpoint as well. There's always, of course, ongoing negotiations with the LEA and their potential new collective bargaining agreement. The one that is in place right now is through August 2023. So I would think that it would, at some point in the near future, we begin conversations. Sooner the better, in my opinion. And then we talked about the ability to maintain those school choice seats and the associated revenue with that. I mean, Littleton attracting 100 school choice students over these years has been put us in a nice situation. And we're not too sure we're going to be able to always have 100 seats, but it's done the yeoman's work to this point. It's something that we're going to keep an eye on, especially with the new housing developments in town. It's something that we probably need to have a heavy focus on, especially as maybe like a larger project like 550 King Street comes on board and things like that. So that sort of wraps up, not the entire presentation, but it wraps up the sort of the math behind it. I wanted to see if anyone else had any questions at this point in time before I turn the presentation over to the administration. Brad?
Hey, Justin, that was really helpful. Thanks a lot. And thanks to everyone, Steve and Kelly and everybody else who worked on that. That was really, really helpful. I guess I have two questions. The first is just to clarify, in our last meeting, we heard about being involved in this kind of project that we hope get a new Shaker Lane school or a radically modified Shaker Lane school next 5 or 6 years. And I think we talked about $700,000 for the next stage, a feasibility study. That's town money, not school committee money, right?
Correct. That's a capital request to the town.
All right. Good. I want to make sure that. The other thing I guess I would say is I really liked hearing that we had extra ESSER funds, and your explanation of the kind of rainy day fund made a lot of sense to me. My understanding of the budget process is that in some ways this is like rolling back, running back on what's working, right? This is a budget we've had. This is the mandatory increase that we negotiated. These are some, what we're seeing, and we're doing that plus some percentage increases, which makes a lot of sense. Our district seems to be functioning well, both in the classroom and administratively. And in a typical year, I would say that makes a lot of sense. These aren't typical times. And if we have a rainy day fund, I would just suggest that it's raining, and that I'm really concerned about that this year and the coming year, we're going to have more mental health needs that we should plan on addressing. And so if we have money sitting there, and if Justin, if I heard you correctly, you're saying 11% or more is actually above industry standard. So we might have some money that we could use for this, especially the ESSER funds. I have no ideas. I have no programs. I have no suggestions. I don't know if there are 32 more Uchas out there, but I'm really concerned based on talking to people in the community, our own family, based on everything we read. And I wonder if it doesn't have to be part of the budget discussion or vote, but I would, as a committee member, I would love to empower the staff and the administration to be creative. If there's something out there we want to try to help our students on the mental health side especially, then let's do it. If we have the money that's there, and if it becomes something we want to keep in the budget, then we talk about making it structural. But to get us through the next 12 or 18 months, if the money's there, we know the crisis is there, or what I perceive to be a crisis, then I hope we can be proactive. If we have the resources, I think we should. And I don't know if this is the place to talk about that, but
It's part of the conversation, Brad. We are visioning, looking to the future, and we do have some ideas for next year, and at a future school committee meeting when we have things more clearly mapped out. Be more than happy to do a presentation, but the mental wellness of our students and staff are certainly on our minds. And we've been working closely with the clinical team and getting some information in terms of what they're seeing this year, and also looking for successes and looking at areas where we need more supports. And those supports may not necessarily be provided by a school district, but provided by some outside provider. But we're spending sufficient time in that area, and we're feeling pretty good about the direction that we're heading.
well, and again, that was in no way meant to be a criticism of anything. It's just that I've appreciated the reports. I've appreciated hearing from all the teams and the school leaders. It's just we all are perceiving there's a problem. We've just heard we have some excess funds, maybe not structurally for the next 10 years, but this year we may have some money that we can use to address it. And so I just ask y'all to keep being creative and don't let the budget necessarily constrain you right now for those sorts of things. Again, this is just me speaking as me, maybe not for the whole committee, but I'd love if y'all felt like you had the license and the call to be as creative as possible in these areas.
I greatly appreciate it. And, it's been said before around this table, and we're very appreciative of the fact that we do have that flexibility. And again, we're feeling good about where we are, where we're going. As you know, it's very difficult to find specialty staff at this point in time. And we've done some creative things this year to make it work, and looking for some more permanent staff next year as we move forward. But there are a couple of interesting programs out there that we've witnessed in other schools that we're just implementing and starting to implement. So we've been searching around, and you're right. We all recognize the need to provide as much support as we can in that area. It is concerning to everybody, concerning to our community, our staff, administration, families. It's been a rough couple of years, and the toll has been taken on some families, and we're certainly as a community not exempt from that. So I appreciate you mentioning.
Thank you.
And Brad, some of that ESSER money, that's federal ESSER money, is geared specifically toward those programs.
Right, and that has to be spent, I think I noted, by September 2024.
Correct.
So we still have some time. We have that money set aside.
Correct.
I just hope we're aggressive in seeking out and exploring and learning from others. We're all on the same page here. I just thank you for the work you're doing, and let's keep going at it.
Thanks, Brad. Very important conversation.
That's all I got.
All right.
Excuse me, Matt, if I may. Brad, I don't want you to feel like you're the only school committee member speaking on behalf of that, because I think that Jen, and I don't want to speak for them, Jen and Matt, but certainly myself, I agree with everything you just said. And this isn't the first time that we've kind of had this conversation. So, but certainly when we're looking at the budget, when we're looking at the numbers, and we have evidence that the money's there, I think it's thank you for bringing it up and using that analogy of, maybe it is raining. If we're referring it to it as a rainy day fund, maybe now would be the time to actually spend some money. We've got the money. Let's make the time for it. And I know that it's hard to find the people, but it should be a priority, because while the district may feel really great about everything that we're doing, and we're trying to do as much as we can, I know that there are families in town that aren't feeling really great about where they are with some of their students. And we've really got to, like, full court press. We've got to try to figure a way out of this. And if we were to peel off 10% of that money, it's 250 grand or something we could throw at some programming. That's probably going to make a difference to a significant amount of the population that might be struggling with some mental health. So, we've said it a couple of times. I'd love for there to be some action items at some point behind these words, to try to go do something net new to bring to the district to try to help these kids that we're hearing about that are, really just having a hard time recovering. So just echoing everything you said, Brad, but maybe saying it in a different way.
I would agree.
I would agree too. Go ahead, Matt, sorry.
No, I would absolutely agree. I think it's definitely worth having a conversation on that in the future, a near future. But thanks, Brad, for bringing that up. Okay, any other questions from anyone else? Do we have anyone with their hand raised, Dorothy, that has any questions on the budget? Okay. Thanks, Justin. That was excellent, very thorough. Even Brad was able to follow along. So, great job. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We will turn it over to the accomplishments now for
Stand up and get the kick out of my neck for looking at the screen today.
Yeah.
Great job, Justin. A lot of information to unpack. It's easily understandable, so good job. Every year when we do a budget presentation, it's important that we spend some time looking at our accomplishments. Our accomplishments are always linked to our strategic plan, which is a key driver in development of a budget. Our mission statement is also a key driver, and there are many other factors as well, but we need to be meeting our mission for our district, or we need to seriously rethink what we're doing. We're doing well. We have 5 major areas of our strategic plan, and I'm going to go over a number of our accomplishments. It's very evident when you look at what we have here before you this evening that even though we had another different year, even though in the summer we were optimistic and thought we were going to have a pretty normal year, things changed rather quickly. But having said that, we were certainly able to roll up our sleeves and continue actualizing our strategic plan and meeting the needs of our students. And in this particular year, also identifying learning needs of students, both academically, socially, emotionally, and mental wellness as well. So we have K-5 together, so Shaker Lane and Russell Street School are presented as one unit. We believe in a seamless curriculum delivery in K-5. So our first major area is curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Some of the things we've been working on, foundations program we've heard about before. It's fully implemented K-2, and it's new to grade 3 this year. That program has made an incredible difference, in our opinion, in terms of helping our students develop the mastery that they need to be solid readers. We are also piloting a new writing curriculum, which is really exciting. I've had the opportunity to be in classrooms this year in elementary and watch this new writing curriculum be implemented. Our kids are excited. They have opportunities to read their stories, have peer reviews, etc. And it's added some energy to the writing program. So really excited about continuing this in future years and expanding it to all of our ELA classes, K-5. We are currently, no surprise, conducting a review of our elementary math curriculum. This has been in the works for a while. Math in elementary, they're obviously are resources, but resources don't give you everything that you need. You need supplemental resources, and we're spending some time looking at vertical alignment, horizontal alignment, making sure that the connections are there from grade to grade and school to school. Also looking at opportunities to venture out into some new curricula out there that will bring some exciting strategies to teaching of that. Field trips, we're excited about starting them again. We know that there's a shortage of bus drivers, but we're still hoping that we can snag a few drivers so we can take our students out of our district for field trips. Universal design for learning. You've heard about that a lot this year. It's a district initiative that really, I guess, taking it apart, it's just simply creating strategies that meet everybody's learning styles. And when you're planning your lessons, when you're looking at assessments, multiple ways of demonstrating learning, it just really focuses on giving our students what they need to be successful. AimsWeb Plus Early Literacy has also been implemented, reading assessments, and the Schcmte Dyslexia Screener, K-2. We've talked about that before as well. Many of these things you've already heard about this year. Happy to report that the screener is working really well, and it certainly captures students at where they're at. We can provide those necessary supports, take care of them in a timely manner. We also implemented Lexia Core 5 Adaptive Reading Program, K-2, Haggerty Phonemic Awareness Program. That piggybacks on foundations. It's just an added element to what we're doing in foundations to make sure our students get the skills that they need to be solid readers as we move forward. And again, nothing new, but we've adapted what we do in terms of targeted reading interventions in both schools. And we've also introduced grade level professional learning communities, PLCs. We have those at the school level, but we've teased them down to the grade level, which I think we'll see some great benefit from as we move forward. Next major.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
I'm sorry about the foundations. You said it's been K through 2. It's now implemented in 3. Is the idea that it goes 4 and 5 the next couple of years? Or
Not
is it?
necessarily.
Okay.
We feel that at this point in time, at the end of grade 3, we should be set, but we're going to monitor if we feel there's a need to expand it to grade 4. We
That's great. I just didn't know if it was following a group of cohort students through, or if it's okay.
It's usually a primary education strategy.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Professional development, we provided PD focusing on obviously writing curriculum and AimsWeb with a repetitious. We have placed a great focus on cultural proficiency and equity in our district, and we do see gains being made already. I know this is elementary, an example of that would be our student equity and diversity committee make a presentation for the calendar change. So we are reaping the benefits of spending time and professional development in this area, something that's needed in every district, including ours. As you know, we partnered with NAMI, which is a National Alliance on Mental Illness, to offer presentations to staff and families this year, and focus on equity by design, which is universal design, We brought in Dr. Katie Novak and Berkel Chardon for a cross-district PD day. We continued with that professional development in all of our schools during the current year. Culture and climate implemented the classroom book read-alouds with a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversified literature offerings, participating in staff celebrations, community meetings, safety committee meetings, spirit days. The POP Print of Excellence we introduced about 5 years ago, and it's the staff member who receives it selects the next staff member on a monthly basis. So it's a nice way to develop morale and climate in our schools. Family STEM nights have been a great hit. It's nice to continue with those. And I'm really impressed with our tech team to be able to offer those virtually when we needed to. We continued doing what we needed to do to make sure our students were exposed to the curriculum if they needed to be successful. PTA functions continue to be offered in the elementary schools. And one program we've been doing for years, which is really valuable, is hosting high school mentors and interns in K-5. It's really nice to see our students coming down and working with students in various areas, and it's just a nice team cooperative effort. Community communication, newly offered kindergarten ambassador program this year. They're working on creating a new family buddy program. And what is that? It's when new families move to town. The schools intend on K-1 at this point in time, connecting with other families that are already in the community to make the transition as easy as possible for them. Moving to another community when you have children can be a little traumatic at times. And it's nice to feel welcome and learn more about the community. The second grade podcasts have been a hit. We're going to continue doing that. Shakey's virtual storytime night and virtual dance parties were a welcomed addition as well during the pandemic. Community projects, we've had some great PR on that. Codes for Kids was one of them. Very appreciative of our teachers for going that extra mile, working with their students and letting them know the value of not only being kind, but helping people that are in need. Newsletters, communication, we continue to refine that as time goes on. And we've, for a number of years, have participated in the International Kindness Week, which I think is really important. Everybody looks forward to that day, and we continue to do that for many more years. Technology. Last year, everybody's strategic plan acquired a Glowforge laser cutter. The grader is always looking for new ways to engage our students in technology. And the laser cut community mapping project and the cardboard community building project, which was fascinating to see. Initiated STEM Challenge of the Month projects as well. Continued cross-curricular projects, which is really important. Multidisciplinary approaches to learning is so important as we develop those skill sets that are necessary for success. We have an online library system in place as well. Acquired 6 Osmo detective agency kits and created an Adopt a Bot program. We've talked about that before. Students are really excited about having a bot program, or a bot in the classrooms more correctly, where they can program it and do different things. And reestablished the use of the think tank in Shakey's Imaginatorium, which is very nice to see. Kids were really excited about getting back into those rooms and again starting to take part in those projects. And with the pandemic, we were able to offer one-on-one Chromebooks to grades 2 to 5, which was a huge addition to our school district. They are still utilized extensively in our classrooms and are used to enhance learning. They're used when it's necessary to use them. We don't believe in having our students glued to computers all day, but there are parts of the curriculum and activities that lend themselves to using a computer. Middle school accomplishments under curriculum instruction and assessment. They redid the modified block schedule, adjusted math assessment schedule, emphasized project-based learning, which is music to my ears. I'm such a firm believer in project-based learning in all of our schools. They looked at their curriculum review cycle and created opportunities to enhance relationships between students and staff. Developing opportunities for students to talk about things that are important to them, with roundtable discussion, student voice. That's a goal of ours in terms of enhancing student voice in our schools. We've heard that phrase used for many, many years, but it's one thing to use the phrase, it's another thing to actually actualize what it means, and we're committed to do that in our district as we move forward. Professional development, very similar, obviously, to what we talked about before.
I'm sorry, Kelly, can I just ask one short question on the middle school? Just because you had mentioned it with the elementary schools about the field trips. Do we know whether we're going to be able to have the 8th graders go to Washington, D.C. next year, or has that been discussed?
I haven't had a conversation with principals yet. I would hope that would happen. I think that that's a trip that we've done for many years, and our students look so forward to that trip. But we would certainly have Principal Everhart report on that at a later time.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We really are looking forward to reestablishing the trips that we've had in place.
All right.
Culture, climate at the middle school. We designed the advisory program that I already mentioned, small group discussions, looking at developing or continuing to develop a curriculum that really gives our students an opportunity to have voice during those sessions. Every year we do annual reviews of our emergency protocol, something that needs to be kept at the forefront. Safety is our top priority. And it's exciting that middle school was able to reestablish the well-known turkey trots and other family events such as volleyball night and the cornhole tournament. Nice to get back to normal again. And it's hard to believe what's happened in the last 4 weeks compared to where we were 4 weeks ago to where we are now. It's just, there's no comparison. Just glad that we're here. Community communication. Again, our PTAs are very active in our schools. Very fortunate to have PTAs that are working with us. The student support team was revamped at the middle school as well. That's so important that when students need support. We were talking about that earlier this evening, and it's all kinds of support, including academic support as well. So if students are struggling academically, if we don't put a plan in place, work with the student and the families, they get further behind, and then the other challenges arise. So we're really trying to catch things and be proactive rather than reactive. And we obviously continued with the Coffee with Principal program. It's nice to see parents come out to those various activities to talk about things of concern. Technology. They redefined the role of technology at the middle school this year, implemented coding with an intention to become accessible to all students, which is a great move on their part, in my opinion. Coding is a skill set that all students need to be exposed to. Some will decide later on to pursue it in more detail, but it's nice to have everybody exposed to coding at the middle school level. They've created mobile maker spaces, which gives greater access to project-based learning that's aligned with technology. And the one-on-one program, we've had that for a few years now. It's our 3rd year, and nice to be a one-on-one school district. High school, curriculum instruction and assessment. We were able to update our computer science curriculum offerings this year. Really exciting. We have a hire a staff member who was well qualified in the area of computer science. So we've been wanting to move forward in that for years. Finally, we're able to do so. Provided cyber safety, digital citizenship training to grades 9 and 10, which we do all the time. Something that we need to continue to do. Updated the curriculum review cycle. Implemented universal design for learning, which I've already talked about. When we look at courses at the high school every year, we take a look at student interests and also staff qualifications and try to make sure that we're aligning our course of studies with what students are interested in when it comes beyond the core academic subjects that everybody needs to take. So we've added sociology, global studies, race and membership, industrial design, pre-algebra, intro to videography, an introduction to theater arts, and a new course in financial algebra, which is brand new. The financial component used to be taught by history, the history department, and we moved it over to the math department. So we're excited to see what they come up with. Revamp the student support team process, talked about the same thing happening at the middle school. We know that some of our students are struggling, and we need to make sure we have the supports in place to support them along the journey. Increased project-based learning, again, our whole district has put emphasis on this. Assessment alternatives, something that I'm really glad to see in writing. There's many ways that you can demonstrate learning. It doesn't have to be an essay. It doesn't have to be a multiple choice test. You can demonstrate learning in various ways. I think it's important to give our students that opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge based on what they're comfortable doing. I'm not saying that it isn't important that they're not proficient in the other methods of assessment, but the choice is a great way to go. And we implemented the Deborah student strengths assessment, and that's really assessing overall student wellness, which is really important as well. We continued with math growth reading in grade 9. We stopped math testing in grade 8, and we're getting more interest in the high school as time goes on. And I'm really pleased that that's happening because it gives them some great information in real time to look at. We continued with the Alex online adaptive math program as well. And we continued with advanced coursework offerings and over 20 available online AP courses, which is a nice feature to have in our high school. So students can take courses outside of the classes that we offer. They can also take courses from Middlesex College as well. Professional development, we all talked about all of these already in our other schools. The focus is very clear in our district as you go from school to school. That alignment is so necessary in order to have our professional development be beneficial and meaningful and produce the results that we're looking for. Climate culture, high school again is labeled or has the certificate to be a kindness certified school. We're also a kindness certified district as well. We continue to conduct SOS and YARVIS surveys, provide mental health and wellness presentations, and collaborated with student leaders to plan a student mental health and wellness day in May. I'm really excited about that. First time we've had students come together and help create a day to benefit all students in the high school. And again, Boston Magazine ranked Littleton High School as the 4th best school in the greater Boston area. And this gives me an opportunity to mention those recognitions really belong to all of us from kindergarten through grade 12. We build a foundation as students go through our district, and when they get to the high school, we have a solid foundation, and it allows them to continue to grow, and as a result, get the recognition that we do. So, thanks to our students, our staff, our families, and our community for supporting us to make sure that we offer educational opportunities that meet the needs of all of our students. Big one under community communication. The high school is the new schedule. It is working well. The wrinkles are being worked out, and we'll have Dr. Harrington do a presentation later on this year to give you an update of where we're at. We've added some more dual enrollment courses, ELA, statistics, Spanish, French, and Latin. Always nice to give our students an opportunity to obtain dual credits. We are pursuing opportunities with Middlesex, as I mentioned earlier. We've had a student graduate from high school with a 2-year associate degree, and we would like to offer that opportunity to more of our students. I think that's a great advantage to have a 2-year associate degree in Val, if that's the way you want to go. And certainly opens up some doors and opportunities for students after they leave high school. We hosted another college fair this year, and we've increased internship and work study opportunities as well for our students. I'd really like to continue expanding on that, giving our students an opportunity to explore what they may be interested and have a great benefit in terms of what they want to do, what they decide to do post high school. We've heard of a number of students, not just in our district, but I'm sure if we looked at what we did when we first went to high school, many of us probably ended up in different fields that we started in. And that's fine. That's what college is all about. But if we can help students explore areas that they're really interested in, they may be able to go into something that they know they want to explore further right from high school, rather than spending high school or post-secondary years more correctly, figuring out what areas they're passionate about. So we're excited about that program as well. Another incredible addition to our high school is a VR esports club team program. It's fascinating for me to see that program evolve, and it's really nice to see that it's implemented as a high school sports team. Technology, we're piloting touch view screens, which is really fascinating, and our teachers love it. It just makes their teaching strategies more interactive, and it just fits so well into.
So what do you mean by that? Can I interrupt? Are you talking like smart boards where
Yeah,
teachers?
smart boards where you can
Okay.
just touch to activate
Okay.
them. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So nice addition to the high school as well. And we've already looked at and have upgraded our Wi-Fi access points. As you can well imagine, the amount of technology that we're using in our district, we need to make sure that our hardware is in good shape and that we have appropriate bandwidth to have everybody on at the same time, and make sure that we have the speeds necessary to get what we need done. And, that can be harder than it looks at times. We know we have an issue when I'm typing faster than the words appear on my page. I'm not the world's fastest typer by any means. Priorities for 22-23, continue to meet the learning needs of all students post-pandemic, continue the ongoing assessment of district programming to ensure that students are attaining the skills necessary to be college, career, and a heavy emphasis on future ready. We don't know what jobs will be out there for some of our graduates in the next 10 years. I mean, it's an ever-evolving market, so our students need to be well-rounded and lifelong learners in order to adapt to market changes. Continued emphasis on student and staff wellness, further development of instructional practices that focus on social and emotional skills, inclusion, equity, and diversity, advanced growth mindset strategies as well. Growth mindset is such an important skill to have, and I hope it's as part of our portrait of the graduate, which I'm really anxious to see unraveled as soon as possible. And reflect on what we're doing with sheltered English immersion. We're a small district. I think this year, Lynn, we have maybe 27, 28 EL students in our district. So with a small size, we want to make sure that we're capturing the best programming we can for these students. So we're searching around, talking to other school districts that have well-developed programs, and taking a look at their secrets, so to speak, and implementing them in our district. For a number of years, we've had a 6-year programmatic review cycle. We always take a look at that all the time because definitely sometimes we start curriculum reviews and they may not align with what we're doing. So we want to make sure that we have a good plan for a 6-year review. It's so important that we review our curriculum to make sure that it's meeting the needs of our students. A lot of changes happen. And if you don't take the time and allocate funding to that, you end up with old resources and teachers are pulling from all over the place, trying to make it work. And that's when you have cracks in the foundation, so to speak. Our facilities and maintenance repair plan is going along quite nicely. Very proud and pleased that we're able to put necessary funding into our schools to maintain them. It's a proactive way of maintaining buildings. We all know that if we don't do this, when they do need to be repaired, it will cost much more money in the long run. I've already talked about Middlesex Community College and our writing program. We're looking forward to finalizing a cohesive K-5 writing program in our district. And we are also looking forward to piloting an updated K-5 math curriculum. So important, the sooner the better. And we don't do those things overnight. We work with pilots, work with a group of teachers, provide professional development to make sure that when we do invest significant dollars in programming, that we're pretty comfortable that it's going to make the difference that we want it to make. Technology initiatives, continue to do what we're doing, looking for other apps and programming that will help our students have the skills that they need to be successful after they leave high school. And we're also continuing and finalizing the K-12 digital citizenship program as well. And we have completed, or will be completed shortly, our transition to full computer-based Mcas assessments, which is incredible considering 4 years ago, we had limited computers in our elementary school and our middle school. So to know that we're ready for that is a good place to be. It certainly saves hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars having to do this at the last minute to be able to offer online MCAS assessments to our students. Last page, many thank yous. We're so fortunate as a community. List of a number of people. I'm sure we don't have everybody there, but first of all, thank you to our students. They do such a great job. I'm so proud of our students in this district. I mean, I look back to when I was in high school at that age, and I see what they do these days. We've come a long way, and they certainly have some great skill sets as they exit our high school. Our staff for continuing to professionally develop, and knowing the importance of being the best that they can be at their craft. Our PTA, our parents, our Littleton residents for supporting us, over 450 community volunteers in a regular year. We're looking forward to getting back to that. Donald's Supermarket, all of our Littleton businesses that contribute funding to us. Littleton Country Gardeners, LEF Foundation, they've done so much for our district as well. Littleton Electric Light and Water Department, Fire Department, Police Department, Littleton Rotary, Scholarship Trust, Littleton. I mean, that's an incredible opportunity for our students for scholarships as they exit grade 12, and our Youth Sports Association as well. Without this support, our district would look very different. So we're very grateful for the support that we have in our community, and it's through a combined effort that we are able to offer a quality education to all students. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Coach. Any questions? Brad?
Surprisingly enough, I have some. Kelly, thanks for that. It was really detailed and informative. One of the things, as someone who likes talking about curriculum, I'm really impressed by the blend of new courses we're offering at the high school, from social sciences to humanities to STEM. I really like that we're spreading those around and giving students and teachers a lot of new opportunities to kind of spread their wings there. I'm looking forward to hearing about this high school schedule change. It seemed, I was really excited about it. I've heard good things about it anecdotally, but I'm looking forward to hearing from that. And I'm really glad to see that we seem to have learned some things, and things that we talked about last year that we've taken from these pandemic years. Project-based learning, the multiple assessments, that a lot of that's being incorporated and becoming embedded moving forward. I'm really glad to see that. In the future, I'd love for us to talk more about our general approach to kind of dual enrollment, especially about advising. As someone who teaches one of those programs and someone who teaches at the college level as well, there may be too much of a good thing. And so I don't know if it's something that we necessarily want to push a lot of kids to get the 2-year degree. So I just think that's just something that I hope we can talk about at some point about our general approach to that.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, we're certainly not pushing our students to have an associate's degree. We're just making it available if this is something that they would want to pursue. I mean, we don't want to fast track students unnecessarily, but we have a number of students in our high school, every high school, that are ready for that next challenge. And it's really exciting in this day and age that distance isn't a factor in to be able to offer those courses to students when they're ready for them. It has multiple advantages. I mean, research is very clear. If a student takes a college course prior to graduation, they're more likely to finish on time than on schedule in secondary institutions.
Oh, I think it's great. I just think that we should ask some questions as we go along, but I think it's fantastic that a school district our size can offer this number of opportunities. And I want to applaud everybody for doing that. I guess I have 2 questions, follow-up questions. One is, we mentioned the kind of one-to-one kind of commitment to Chromebooks, which I think we had started put in place, but really needed the last 2 years. Is that something we anticipate will just be part of our curriculum and our teaching moving forward?
It is. I mean, there are always positives from every situation that you become involved in. The pandemic certainly had some struggles for us. But as I mentioned before, it certainly allowed us to take a look at technology and utilize opportunities for professional development with our staff. And it's something that we will continue. We're excited about what's continuing to move forward with that as well. But having said that, we're not a district that wants our students on computers all the time. There's a balance.
Yep.
And computers should be utilized when it enhances the learning environment, but they shouldn't be used unless there's a reason to use it. We spend a lot of time talking about that as a district, but I mean, the proficiency levels that we have now in our students are fascinating to me. I mean, you can go down to Shaker Lane, and I'm just taken back at how quickly they learn how to use computer programs, etc.
Well, thank you. That was my hope for answer, that we keep them, but that we don't rely solely upon them. I guess my question is, as we circle back to the budget discussion, I assume we're building in refresh cycles and all of that into this. Okay.
Yes.
I guess my final thought then, and then I apologize everybody for taking up so much time, is I think it's fantastic that we seek and receive this kind of kindness certification at the high school level and stuff. And I love seeing these focus on culture and climate throughout. I don't know if this is the time. I wonder if you could say something about what's happened at the middle school. Yeah. And just update the community about where we are. I know this isn't the meeting for us to have a full discussion about it,
Right.
but
no, we intended to do that sometime tonight. Just wanted to find the right time.
Yeah, I didn't know. So that's why I didn't know if
The
you.
opening.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Brad, for doing that. As some of you know, we had an incident at our middle school where we had some graffiti written on in one of our restrooms, and it was racist graffiti. We're obviously taking this very seriously. The administration is doing an investigation right now. It's not completed yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing if we can identify who's responsible for this. And that's only part of what we're doing. The school is also taking time during their advisory classes to talk about this incident and the importance of celebrating diversity and being respectful of people's differences. I mean, this is something that we spent so much time on, and it was really disappointing to receive that phone call from the middle school and be told that this had happened in one of our schools. So we don't feel good about what happened, but it'll be a learning experience, and we will learn from this experience as we move forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Justin, Jen, do you have any questions for Dr. Quenchy?
I don't. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Quenchy.
Thanks, Dr. Clunchy. I got a couple softball ones for you, I think. Do we have any field trips planned for the balance of this school year? And if not, is that something that we could look to try to do? I mean, we're running out of time, but the weather's getting better, and it's something that I would love to see.
Justin, we're working on it, but our biggest challenge right now is finding somebody to drive a bus. So we're searching wide and far to try to make this happen. Transportation, shortage of buses and shortage of drivers has been a tough one to swallow. I mean, we're fortunate that in our district, our buses have been running all year and our students have been transported to school every day. That's not the case in a lot of districts. And we're working with our bus company to try to get them to find somebody that's willing to go on a field trip and drive our students. So we're still not there yet. I haven't heard any difference at this point in time. So principals, if you have some news that you haven't had time to share with me, please feel free to share it.
Yeah, Kelly, I'll jump in on something here. We have had at the middle school, normally we do Washington, D.C., and it's such a great trip, but unfortunately we just weren't able to plan in September because we didn't know what the world would look like now. Now that masks have come off, I've had a couple of parents reach out. We've done two kids, back to school nights our kids' night out, which have been hugely successful. But I've had a couple of parents reach out to see if there is something that we can do for the 8th graders. And currently we're looking at 2 options. There is an opportunity for us at a much reduced cost to do a single all-day trip to New Hampshire just for 8th graders. We would leave at like 6:45 in the morning and return at 10 p.m. at night. But with that would include an opportunity to explore some caves in New Hampshire, a dinner cruise with a DJ, buffet, lots of fun. There's another option for a Boston Harbor cruise with a DJ and buffet. So our goal at the middle school is to take this opportunity to make sure that we have celebrated our 8th grade students who have been through so much the last couple of years. Right now, we're just looking at logistics. Each of these would have buses included. But right now we're working out price points and logistics. So I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but I want everyone here to know that the need for us to be able to celebrate each other in this way has not gone unnoticed, and we are actively working to make this happen. So I don't know what the final result will be, but it is something we are actively pursuing.
Great to hear it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
And I think Cheryl, did you have-
Hi, I can just add for Russell Street, the 5th grade is planning their Cedar Dale trip, which is a annual trip to recognize 5th graders. Several of the trips, like Lowell Mills was one that 4th grade usually goes on, and they've tried to figure out a substitute if they can't go. So I know there's the younger 3rd grade is walking over to the Historical Society right in town, which has been great. And they also are planning to have some members of the Historical Society come to school. They did that last year. It's not a matter of going on the trip. It's a matter of getting there on buses, as Kelly said. One of the 5th grade teachers just told me today that they were able to work out a reduced kind of a juggle of the time. So 5th grade, there's a potential other field trip that 5th graders could go on. So they are actively working on trying to make arrangements for our kids to be able to do some fun things this spring.
That's excellent. Exciting that they come to be actualized.
Thanks, Cheryl. Any other questions before we?
Michelle has it.
Oh, sorry.
Cheryl?
I can add if Michelle's ready or.
Yep, I'm just very similar to what Cheryl has said. Let me put my hand down. Just very similar to what Cheryl said. It's the busing issue. 1st grade is doing in-school field trips. 2nd grade is trying to book a field trip to the Ecotarium, but the timing of the busing and the programs there are not working. So they're really looking into more in-house field trips, bringing the field trips to Shaker Lane.
And I can add for the high school. We're looking at as venues open up, we'll see how that goes. It should be more, I imagine there'll be some clubs and some different excursions, particularly into Boston. There's often a trip into Boston for the Freedom Trail walk. And the senior trip is being discussed. We're looking at a Charles River boat cruise in early evening. So that's in discussion and in planning. And we'll see how that goes. And of course, the prom will be coming up, and that will be in Sterling this year. So nice for the senior class to have their traditional events back.
Thanks, Dr. Baird.
Terrific. Thanks for sharing. My other question for you, Dr. Clenchey, was this this K-5 reevaluation of the math curriculum. I don't want to step on Brad's toes here with the curriculum questions, but I also don't want to relearn math. What is this 2022-2023 K-5 math curriculum change going to look like? Have you selected a new curriculum, or how different is it than what we currently have?
We're exploring various resources now. We're at that stage, and we first thing we do after we identify resources that meet the criteria that we set, then we would pilot those resources in different classrooms. And then after we've done that, we would make a decision in terms of what direction we're moving in.
Okay, so it's likely moving forward to the pilot program, test a couple programs next year, and then maybe make a final decision the following year.
Exactly.
Okay.
We accept that, and it may happen, but if we piloted 3 different programs, for example, and within the first 2 months we realized that there was only one program that was worthy of pursuing, we may be able to fast track it, but my experience is it doesn't usually work that way. Doesn't mean it won't, but typically we have pretty strong resources by the time we select 2 or 3 to pilot.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Michelle Sands still up, or she doesn't have a question?
I'm not sure. Michelle, do you have any question, a comment?
I thought I would just help add to that conversation, Dr. Clenchey, if you'd like, being part of that math curriculum review. Next week, we're actually looking at some of the programs in person. Our plan, and I don't want to step on Mrs. Steele's toes, our plan is to implement, to pilot one program next year and then look at the feedback from that. So next year is going to be our pilot program, and it's not pilot till you find one. It's pilot with the intent of bringing it in and feedback for staff. So Mrs. Steele is really the spearheader of this. So I'm just speaking on her behalf and just wanted to provide some clarity. So next week on Tuesday, we're actually looking at some resources that companies have sent to us that we've been researching. I just thought I'd add that.
So Michelle, my understanding then is you feel comfortable that one resource is going to separate itself from the other so that we can focus on a single resource pilot then and then move forward?
That is the intent. That is the intent from Mrs. Steele and the committee, is that we're going to come to the consensus of one. But again, we're going to look at the programs next week now that we actually have them in hand and see if that's the route that we want to go. Yep.
Good. I think so. Dorothy, do we have any?
You don't have to raise your hand.
Okay. Great. Thanks so much, Dr. Clenchey.
Thank you.
All right. That brings us to old business. The only thing under old business is the 2022-2023 calendar update.
Do you need a motion to
Oh,
accept the budget?
Yes, we do. Sorry. Still good.
Approve,
All right.
to approve the budget.
I just skipped that one.
Yeah, I got it right here.
The motion to close the FY23 budget public hearing and the potential motion to approve the budget.
I move that we close FY20 budget hearing.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. This is a roll call vote. Jen?
Jen Gold, yes.
Russ,
Justin McCarthy, yes.
and Brad?
Brad Olson, yes.
Matt Hunt votes yes as well. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to accept the FY23 budget.
Yeah. The language is a motion.
Yeah, it says motion to close. But
I've got it on the agenda. I can make the motion. I'll make a motion that the school department recommend and accept the town appropriated budget for the school department of $23,050,247 in school revolving fund usage of $3,249,807 for a total fiscal year 2023 school department budget of $26,300,054.
Second.
motion made and seconded. This too is a roll call vote. Justin?
Justin McCarthy, yes.
Brad?
Brad Olson, yes.
Jen?
Jen Gold, yes.
Matt Hunt votes yes as well.
Thank you.
Now that'll bring us to old business and to the 2022-2023 school calendar. Director of Teaching and Learning, Elizabeth Steele, will give us an update on some of the changes the school committee requested.
All right, so we have an updated proposed 22-23 calendar for you this evening. Based on the conversation that we had 2 weeks ago, there are two major differences between this calendar that you see tonight and the one that was presented weeks ago. So first is with regards to PD half-day Wednesdays. We adjusted, we had checked in with some of our educators, had some conversations, and the consensus was, let's try it, see how it goes. There are some reservations and concerns, but not enough to totally halt us from testing it out and collecting the data for next year. So we adjusted the October 19th half day to be Friday, October 21st instead. And then in January, it was January 11th, and we pushed it to that Friday of January 13th. And in total, this will give us 3 half days on Fridays with PD. So there's the one in October, the one in January, and then the one in May, which we've had for a few years now. The other major adjustment to this draft proposal that you see in front of you is with regards to conferences, specifically the middle school conferences. So our middle school and our elementary schools are on trimesters. It makes sense for their conferences to be around the same, really close to the same time. And for the sake of ease for families of putting them at the same days if possible. And so we just adjusted middle school conferences to match the elementary school conferences. So the week of November 14th, specifically the 15th, 16th, and 17th, will be the elementary and middle school conferences for the fall. So those are the 2 major adjustments that we made after our conversation.
Any comments from the school committee?
One thing I noticed, thank you so much, Elizabeth, and thank you for making those changes. I think that some of us had requested. That's great to see that happening. November just looks so disruptive. I mean, it's just like you've got the 4 holiday days, 2 half days, and then 3 more half days because of conferences. And I'm not going to hold this up any further. I'm sure we'll approve it, but just wondering if there's a way to maybe spread out those PD days, half days to months that aren't already don't already have so many holidays and half days. I don't know. I mean, there's no great way to do it, but maybe just seems like November is like a lot of disruption.
You're totally right. And it's one of those, every time you look at the calendar and you see November, it is kind of eye-opening, jaw-dropping when you see it. There's a lot of disruption in November because of the time of year, especially with trimesters, kind of where it falls naturally in order to have conferences with regards to Thanksgiving, with regards to Election Day and Veterans Day. There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah. And so we could look at in the future, potentially there's that 1 half day of PD and then 1 full day of PD in November. Those are considerations for future potentially. But the other consideration is if sometimes in conversations, the mindset is if it's going to be broken up, let's just break it up and make it happen. Because what that allows for is actually a cohesive December. So if you look, we only have 1 interruption in December, right? So it allows for these other months to really let the momentum build. Isn't necessarily building in November.
Right. I get that. There are different ways to look at. Right. You could just bite the bullet in November so that it makes for a smooth December, or spread it out so everything is sort of like messy. You could argue both sides, but I'd like to relook at that. And obviously, the PD days in general and how to maybe structure them a little bit differently. But I mean, I think I'm fine with this. I don't have any other questions.
I will just add that I want to thank the committee, the calendar committee, for taking a second look at this and implementing a couple of the suggestions. It'll be interesting to get the feedback next year. You can certainly tell us that we were wrong. If by stacking these conferences in the same week and by moving some of the half days to Fridays, but I do think it was worth a shot. And I want to recognize the efforts put forth by the calendar committee and the administration to go ahead and give this a try for the calendar year 22-23. I think that those Friday half days are going to be well received. I think the Diversity Equity Club and Inclusion Club that got Diwali on the calendar for the 24th is going to also love that half day Friday beforehand. But again, in all seriousness, as we get through the calendar next year, let's get some feedback on these half day Fridays and stacking the conferences all in the same week. And then, of course, I agree with Jen. November's a messy month, but I see Beth's point in the fact that it allows for a clean December. So as we approach maybe the 23-24 calendar year, if things go well with some of these changes, maybe we could look at making some more. But I just wanted to say thank you for giving these couple of recommendations a try.
Thanks. Yes. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed 2022-2023 school calendar.
I move we approve the proposed 2022-23 school calendar.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. This is a roll call vote. Jen,
Jen Gold, yes.
Justin McCarthy, yes.
Brad,
Brad Austin, yes.
and Hunt votes yes as well. This brings us to our second opportunity for interested citizens. Do we have any raised with?
Susan Harvey, please state your name, your question, and your street, please.
Hi, Susan Harvey, 32 Lake Warren Drive, and teacher at the high school. I wanted to bring to your attention that the National Honor Society is going to be offering babysitting at town meeting on Monday, the 2nd of May. I know we're all looking forward to being back together in that marvelous gym. A couple other things that are on the calendar. The NHS is also bringing the MGH Bloodmobile to the high school on the 12th of April. And 16 and up can donate. 16 years old needs a permission slip from parents, but I have those and that has been publicized. And the Humanitarian Club is hosting its 8th Polar Plunge at the town beach on Saturday, the 26th of March at 10 o'clock. We are raising money once again for the Mass Special Olympics. And please, please come and support us. We're also doing another Rise Against Hunger event, packaging emergency meals on the 9th of April. And we partner with the Neshoba Regional School. So we are going to be at Bolton this year. Next year, we'll be back at the high school. And that's also at 10 o'clock. We welcome everybody to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Any other hands?
No more hands.
Great. So we do require an executive's, oh, I'm sorry, we don't do any subcommittee reports during this. Okay, make sure. We do require an executive session, so at this point, I will accept a motion to adjourn our public meeting and
We'll make a motion to adjourn our public meeting and move to executive session for the purposes of contract negotiations with no intent to return to public session.
Second.
motion made and seconded. This too is a roll call vote. Jen,
Jen Gold, yes.
Justin McCarthy, yes.
Brad,
Brad Austin, yes.
Matt Hunt votes yes as well. Jen, Justin, probably give us about 5 minutes, I think, just to clear out the room, and we'll meet on the Google Meet.
Sounds like a plan.